A recent report from Politico says that former staffers and consultants to Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis have basically gotten together to form what they're calling a bit of a support group to talk about all of the abuse they took while working for Ron DeSantis, not just from the Florida governor, but also from his wife, Casey. According to conversations that Politico had with these former staffers, they get blamed for every blunder that DeSantis made. Every misstatement that he says to the press, every time something stupid happens that was DeSantis' own design, he blamed the staffers, would demean them, berate them, they said. And it wasn't just DeSantis. His wife did the same thing because, as these staffers point out, the only person that DeSantis would actually listen to was his wife, or is his wife, Casey. The two of them were a team, and none of the input from the people much better at politics than they are mattered. Another thing they said DeSantis did was, when he first became governor, he made the Republican Party of the state of Florida fire a top-ranking official 1 week after that official returned from having cancer surgery. So this official had cancer removed, but because DeSantis didn't like them after they came back and said, "Yay, cancer-free, great, right? Horrendous experience, and I'm over it, yay," DeSantis said, "Yeah, get the hell out." That was with the Florida Republican Party. He made them do that. He also, during the campaign, when he told Florida voters to not, quote, monkey it up by voting for his black opponent, he blamed staffers for that. Said, "How could you let me say something so incredibly racist?" Well, the truth is they didn't let you. You did that because you showed who you really are there, Ronnie. But here's the thing. Ron DeSantis is obviously prepping himself for a 2024 presidential bid. And he can do it with basically little worry because he's up for re-election in 2022. So this would not be a gubernatorial election year for him in 2024. So he really has nothing to lose at that point. But the staffers, the people who know him best and experienced his abuse and his wife's abuse, have issued a warning. And that warning goes back to something we already said, the fact that DeSantis only trusts his wife. He does not surround himself with competent people because he does not trust them. Sounds a lot like Donald Trump. He doesn't have any kind of apparatus in place to begin a legitimate presidential campaign, also reminiscent of Donald Trump. And he just doesn't know how to project himself in the public. And that's going to be the key thing here. Obviously, DeSantis is polling fairly well. Donald Trump is still polling at the top of the Republican 2024 people, but DeSantis is actually gaining steam. But that's because a lot of people haven't been paying attention to him. That's because Democrats have not released any kind of opposition ads against him yet. The guy is a train wreck. Take it from somebody that lives down here in Florida. You know, all those horrible things that Cuomo did up there with the nursing homes and all that. Yeah, he did it down here too. DeSantis did. Fired the scientist that refused to phony up the COVID death data in the state. He botched the pandemic just as bad as Donald Trump did nationally. So he's got a lot of skeletons. And these staffers talking to Politico, talking about all the abuse they suffered, which, by the way, I only scratched the surface on it. This report is pretty massive. Yeah, that's going to be a problem for him if he chooses to run on a national stage. I think what we're probably looking at here, even though he does have the MAGA crowd behind him, I think we're looking at another Marco Rubio. An arrogant little Republican prick who got a little too big for his britches, and as soon as you put him on a national stage, he's going to come across stupid, unprepared, and completely unprofessional. Happened to Marco Rubio in 2016, and I predict it's going to happen to DeSantis if he chooses to run in 2024.